Hello, it's Glenda with AKA GK Fralin. Is that one okay? Little puffy heart there hanging down at the bottom. This one's a slide off. That's what I did with my Saturday evening. That's my after supper project. And it slides off. I did not try to put any of those other deals on there. And this is on the brown thread, the stiffer. I mean, I'm not going to yank at it, but I like those. I said a while back I would talk about my journey with bipolar. I was diagnosed at the age, well, back in 1995, around there, yeah. 95, 96. That's when it had manifested to the point where we knew something was definitely, desperately wrong. I may have been, bipolar is what was used to be referred to as manic depressive. It is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain, and that is caused by some genetic factor with one of the chromosomes. And I mean, I could have been diabetic, and it would have still been, a factor that had to do with a chromosome and a gene. Doesn't mean anybody who's related to me has to get it. They don't. But it does mean that there is a possibility. But then you don't know all of your history either, so you may not know that you have that possibility. Okay. The stigma is a killer. That's why we don't talk about it. I have talked about it before. I've been upfront about it before because I want to fight that stigma. But it is not easy. It's not easy for me. And it's not easy for a lot of people who have had this disorder. And you see the oxygen, that's from my COPD. The thing of it is, with health, with mental health, a person doesn't get through life with one thing. Very seldom. I mean, even if when you get older, there's a good chance that you're going to be, you may have a stroke, you may have a heart condition. Sometimes people who are adults have grown with a heart condition all their lives and never knew it until it's too late. So it's just a matter of, and sometimes this stuff can be a chain. I was a bullied and very easily targeted child. I cried easy. I wanted so badly to belong somewhere. And from the time I started school, I don't remember a grade in school where I was not even targeted by teachers. Well, I do now. I'll take that back. There were some grades where teachers actually liked me. Maybe those were my better years. I don't know. But there were some who just didn't have the patience for me. I fidgeted a lot. And so maybe there was some ADHD that was a part of it. But there was an incident, well, after, I don't want to get into a lot of there's some history that I just don't want to. It's not yours. It's mine, and I'm just not going to go there. But I was married before, and the divorce was very traumatic for me. And I felt like I had let down the whole family. Nobody in my family had ever, I did get pregnant early, out of wedlock. I was 16. And in the early 70s, that was still considered, you were still considered pretty bad. He was older by several years, well, a few years. But anyway, people might say he took advantage, but more often they were likely to say that I asked for it. Because that's the attitude. It's still the attitude a lot of times. I fought it. No. Months upon months. But anyway, I don't want to go there. That's uncomfortable for me, and I'm just not going to go there. But we did get married and have a beautiful daughter. She's grown into the most wonderful woman. But he had a very, very negative attitude, very, I don't know about negative, but he just was so terribly centered on self. And when I left, I went through a very long period of bitterness, which ate me alive, and depression. Like I said, I was the first to have ever done either one of those things. To either get pregnant out of wedlock or to get divorced in my entire family, extended and all. Anyway, so I did marry again, and we've been married for over 40 years. I went to school when I was 25. I really didn't know I had any intelligence at all when I was young. And I think a lot of that was because I was so downtrodden a lot of the time. But this is just too hard, guys. I went to school. I got my my practical nursing. I think a lot of what gave me the strength to not suffer the enormity of the mood swings after the divorce and after the depression was, first, I found out that I was intelligent. I took some classes to work in a facility, and I was so absolutely shocked that I understood it, that I got top of the class grades. I was just dumbfounded. And when I got out there and started the work, it wasn't unnatural to me. I mean, I had to learn it, and that part was nerve-wracking, but I was able to do the work. I was able to do it confidently, and I was able to do it well. So I started to realize I did have an intelligence to me. And so a lot of the walking on top of me, although some of it still, at that time there was still some. It depended on who it was. But most of them had my back, at least those that I was around most of the time. And the one or two who really took offense to the fact that I turned my life back around, I guess, I don't know why they did, but they took offense. And they started gossip all over town. And, it just, I felt like I went right back into that whole thing that I went through growing up. Or after the divorce. Anyway, but I was raised on a farm. The only actual interactions we had, other than, there were 6 of us kids. I was the oldest daughter, a second child. And we went to church. We went to 4-H, which was pretty much the same people we went to church with. And if they weren't the ones we went to church with, they went to an affiliated church. And so, it was a pretty tight-knit group. And my parents were part of all of it. And they were strict. We were taught to behave a certain way. And we were taught not to behave other ways. So when other people did behave in certain ways, behave really nasty, I just could not understand it. It just totally went over my head. What made people do that? So I just assumed it was something inside me. It had to be me that was the problem, because nobody would act like that. It just totally flew over my head. I did not know there was an evil world, other than the ones I ran into with kids at school and stuff. And so that just meant it was me that was there. And there were things at home that weren't so fun, really not so fun, but that I had to grow up with. And so I just always assumed it was my problem. Anyway, got past all of that, get to the age of 25, and I decide, okay, now I do know I'm not unintelligent. I do know that I can take a test and do well. I decided to go to nursing school. So I went to practical nursing school. And I got my LPN. I had an almost perfect GPA. That really proved to me, finally, that I was intelligent. I wasn't this half-retarded freak I had always thought I was. Now, I know this seems too long, and I'm going to stop here. Because it's not that I don't still live in that part, but talking about it still gets me uncomfortable. And maybe it's because I'm talking to people I don't really know. But I know there's other people out there who have been through this. And who have been through worse. So hopefully, this will reach some of them. So if I did a kids corner today, I hopefully put in a disclaimer that said, once that's the end of the kids corner, please, this part will not pertain to them. So I'll leave it there, and I will come back with more of my history, and then I'll get to the point where I finally get diagnosed, and from there on. So it's not an easy road. Never is. So I love you, and I care about you. Tomorrow is another day. Hasta mañana.